Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Alright, so now I will be teaching you on how to find the inverse function, subtopic 1.4. Alright, so if you look at here, alright, so we have two sets, set x and set y. Alright, the function f maps x to y. Alright, meanwhile, the inverse function, okay, so this is the inverse function. The inverse function will map y back to x, okay. So from this diagram, we know that the domain of f, okay, the domain of f here will be the range of inverse function, alright, and the range of f, this is the range of f, will be the domain of inverse function because it's mapped from here to here. Alright, okay, alright, this is what I tell you just now. Alright, and the inverse of function f exists if and only if f is one-to-one function. Alright, this inverse function exists only if and only if f is one-to-one function. Alright, there are three simple procedures to find the inverse. So the first one is we let y equal fx, and then we interchange x and y such that x equal fy, and then replace y with inverse function. Okay, basically step 2 is the most important step for you to know. Okay, now take a look at the example. Given the inverse function of fx is equal to x minus 1 over x plus 2. And then this is the condition, x is not equal -2, or else the function will be undefined. Alright, so how to find the inverse function? Alright, so just now it says that let inverse function will be y. Okay, so what does it mean? Means that later we are going to substitute, or we are going to replace y is equal inverse function. Okay, alright, so now this is our original function. Okay, so what you have to do is actually we interchange. Alright, this is the step 2, interchange x and y. So now from x change to y, from x change to y, right? And this is basically y. Alright, then y interchange with x. Alright, so next, okay, next is just simplifying this equation, which is cross multiplication, right? Cross multiplication, and then now we move all y terms to the one side, which is 2y minus 1 is equal yx plus 2x, which is we do the expand of the brackets, and after that we move the same term of y. So yx move over here, and -1 move to the right hand side, and after that this is actually we factorize the y. Okay, next y will be 2x plus 1 over 2 minus x, and y will be the inverse function. Okay, alright, so from subject x we change to the subject y. Now y will be the inverse function. Okay, now take a look at the next example. Alright, the function f is defined by fx is equal square root of 4x plus 5, and first find the inverse function of f, and then determine the domain and range of inverse function f. Alright. So the steps are still the same, which is let fy is equal x, alright, and then we change or we interchange the original function x with y, alright. So that will be set for y plus 5 equal x, alright. And then now the next step is to eliminate this square root. Okay, how to eliminate square root? Alright, so the left hand side and the right hand side we are going to square. Okay, because square will eliminate the square root. Okay, something like this. Okay, now the square root is gone. So next step is isolate the fy over here. Bring 5 to the right hand side. And then we have y as the subject. So y is equal x squared minus 5 over 4. Now y will be the inverse function. Something like this. Okay. Next, we are going to find the domain and range. Okay. So, as I mentioned before, the domain for inverse function will be the range of the original function. Okay. So, how we get this? And how to find the range of inverse function? The range of inverse function is basically the domain of the original function. And we get negative 5 over 4 to infinity. How we get this? Alright, so basically, the range is referring to the value of y, right? So, this is the function. This is the function of y, okay? So, y is set for x plus 5, okay? So, since this is in square root, means that it must be greater and equal 0, okay? So, the range will be 0 to infinity. Include the 0. And then, how to find the domain of f? Okay, so domain is referring to the value of x. Okay, so now we take the value inside the square root and then make it greater and equal 0. Okay, so now we have x. X will be negative 5 over 4. Right, so it starts from negative 5 over 4 to the positive infinity. Alright. Now, please try self-test 7. Okay, this one will be your task for today, and after you finish watching this video, you have to settle up this self-test 7. Okay, so now finding the inverse function graphically. Alright, so how to find the inverse function graphically? Alright, so first, you have to draw the straight line y equal x. So this is y equal x, okay? And let's say this is the original function of fx, okay? How to find the inverse function? Okay, the inverse function is basically the reflection of this function through y over x. Okay, so the reflection of this function is basically gx. Okay, its reflection through this straight line. Okay, so this is the reflection of fx. Now gx is the inverse function of fx. Okay, How about this function? All right, so first we draw the straight line y equal x. All right, so let's say this is the original function of f. Okay, so we are going to find the inverse function of this function. Now you have to find the reflection of this function through the straight line. Okay, as you can see, the reflection is something like this. Okay, something like this. So what is our conclusion? Our conclusion is that this function is inverse function of the original function. Okay, you may try find the inverse function of this function. Okay, a and b. You may try it later. Okay, next, how to find inverse function by horizontal test line. Okay, function f is a one-to-one function if any horizontal line cuts the graph of f only once at most. Okay, so inverse function exists if and only if it is one-to-one function. Okay, for example, we have this graph or this function, which is y is equal x cubed. So this is the function. Okay, so now using horizontal test line, you are going to draw the horizontal test line. Horizontal, surely it will be in horizontal position. Okay, so you may draw anywhere you like. Okay, so from your drawing, you know that it's only cut at one point. Okay, it's only cut at one point. So our conclusion is that this function has inverse function. Okay, if we draw infinite horizontal line across graph y equal x cubed, then no horizontal line intersect the function more than once. All right, it means that function y equal x cubed has an inverse. Okay, so now by using horizontal test line, determine whether the following function has inverse or not. Okay, so this is the first function and this is the second function. Using horizontal test line, okay, you may draw horizontal test line anywhere you like, and then after that you may see whether it cuts only one point or more than one point. All right, then make your own conclusion. All right, that's all for now. Thank you very much.